Hey everyone, how you doing? Good to see you. I had actually is I don't know if everybody can see me okay, if I need to turn on more light. It's Reykjavik. The lighting is a little strange. I was gonna start at 2 o'clock, but then it said the start time was um, what is this? I don't know what this is. Streaming. Okay, let's get rid of that. Hi, Michelle, my belle. Thank you for being a moderator. We were actually going to start at 2 o'clock, but somehow I forgot to have it put there to say 2 o'clock. I'm in my hotel room. Hi, Miss Sharon. Good to see you. Hi, Terry. Good to see Terry Renner here. Hi, April. Julie Torado in the house. I'm starting a little bit late because, as you know, I made a new friend. She watches the channel, and she's been giving me tours of Iceland. And wow, she really has been kind. She's been doing all the driving. We just got back we went to see the area near the volcano. It was freezing, about 5 minutes there, but just want to make sure my juice is doing its thing here. Oh. Got to make sure I'm charging. Why am I not charging? It's always something. Hold on. Okay, maybe not. Okay, well, we're at 98%, so I guess we'll stay until we run out of energy. For whatever reason, I'm having trouble with the charging. So, how is everybody? Looks like we're having trouble with the light. I could try and it's kind of dark in here, so I apologize. So today we are doing blitzes, we are hanging out, we'll do a collective. We are playing for Oxfam, which is a charity that helps the poorest of the poor. I found out about Oxfam through the work of Peter Singer and Paul Simon. Love Paul Simon. Thank you for the anonymous donation, $20 to Oxfam. Oxfam's been doing a lot of great stuff. Oxfam has been helping Syrian refugees quite a bit. They've also been active in helping areas where people are experiencing depression, unemployment, etc. And pulling's first, we have to pull people out of poverty. I think that that's really valuable. So, how is everybody enjoying? Oh, my connection is unstable. Yes, the picture is blurry because the light is not good here, but I can go ahead and try and turn on one more light. Hold on. I don't really know how to turn on light. Is that better? That's a light, right? Turn on that light. Yeah, maybe if I did it that way. It's very dark. Iceland is very dark and very rainy. And at my home, I have professional lighting equipment, and at least the cheap stuff you can get on Amazon. Though I really do want to begin to put more energy into this channel in terms of just, oh, thank you, Susan Strickland, for donating $20 to Oxfam. So this is your time. Like I said, we are playing for charity. We're playing for Oxfam. We're hanging out. So the first things first, it's an interesting time to be a remote viewer, and also for those of you who are remote viewers that have been documenting everything. If you've been documenting your hits, this is a really interesting time to be a remote viewer because we're starting now to see just how much Mueller, just how much Mueller did that got sealed in 2019. So I've heard he did a lot of indictments. I heard that a lot of indictments were sealed. It looked to me as a remote viewer like he figured everything out, he passed it on, and he had sealed confessions, he had indictments, Mueller did. He followed the money all the way to the Capitol steps. And I feel the energy that in the beginning of the investigation as a remote viewer, it felt very scattered, almost flighty. I would attach to a particular energy of the investigation and I would be carried off into one part of the world, and then I would do another meditation and I would be carried to another part of the world. It looked to me as if there were so many investigations going on. The inaugural committee seems to be the main thing that we're starting to see happen right now is Michael Cohen was helping with. We're starting to see the reason why Ivanka had the signatures. We're starting to see Tom Barrack being arrested, charged, 250 million bail. I hope the connection's okay. It says the connection is vulnerable. I apologize. So it really goes back to what Mueller always said. You can delay it. You can delay the prosecution. It's probably buffering, Michelle, because I can't get enough light in the room and I can't move the computer because the table doesn't move. So I could theoretically move it to the table over there and then sit on the ground. Would you guys like to try that? That might help. You'll have to see my messy bed. I apologize. Like I said, we're not in the States, but so we don't have complete control over the lighting right now. How's that? Is that helping? It's a very bizarre way to talk to you, but literally, this is literally what I have to do. Oh, there's my laundry. My laundry, my bed. Oh my goodness. Well, what happened was that last night I was good. I went to sleep early in Reykjavik. No, that's not right. What time? I went down. I had something to eat. I couldn't fall asleep. I went for a walk. I kept waiting for the sun to go down. The sun doesn't go down, which is really cool. I'm dark? What do you mean I'm dark? Can you guys see me now? Who cannot see me? Yes, no, sort of. Don't worry, be happy. You can see me hanging on my bed. Look, I never do videos like this, but we're kind of in a pickle. This is the most sun you're going to get in Reykjavik. So I need to grab my tarot cards. It's a weird setup, but hey, for Oxfam, I will do anything. I will do anything to raise money for Oxfam. So I apologize. Oh, I look better now. Yeah, because this is facing the light. And anyway, so I went to sleep finally at about 4 a.m. And then I woke up here at about 9:30, got up and had some breakfast. And then I went back to sleep until 3:34 in the afternoon, and I put a do not disturb sign out. So as you can see, the bed isn't, it's fine. You don't need to do anything. Just let me sleep. So I woke up at like 3:34 in the afternoon, and then I got a text from Sigrun asking if I'd like to go and do some touring. So we headed to the volcano. It was freezing, and people were hiking. It's like you can't wait. If you waited until it was nice weather, you wouldn't go anywhere. And but I'm from Portland, Oregon, so it's cool. But it was really, really, really cold. All right, I need the thing to punch this in. I need to charge, and I will also get my tarot cards. We're just winging it, okay? So that's basically what's going on with the remote views. We're basically seeing all that. I kind of thought I was crazy because what I was seeing when I would do remote views was so different than what people were saying. And so you kind of feel like you're going a little bit cray-cray, as Linda likes to say. You kind of feel like, oh, there we go. You kind of feel like, sometimes you just gotta trust yourself. What's interesting about being in Reykjavik is that the entire place is volcanic. It's really almost like being on another planet. It's an extremely rocky terrain with moss, volcanic. There's steam coming out of the ground. Some of the water is extremely hot. Some is so cold you would die rather quickly from hypothermia. It's a good question, Dale. Probably. Because if you've been watching the show, let me go ahead and post what Dale just said, because I think it's important. It goes back to, thank you everyone who's donating, by the way, to Oxfam. We've raised $114 for charity. Thank you. So in answer, thank you, Redwoods, for the donation to Oxfam. So Dale White is asking an important question, and that goes back to how government resources were being used and how certain people with advanced military training were helping overthrow the government. And I think it's terrifying how close we came to becoming a fascistic nation. The other thing that was kind of weird was, I just never thought it would happen in the United States, because my feeling about the United States, and I guess that we were all kind of naive, but my feeling about the United States was, no, we're too diverse. There's too much cultural diversity. He'll never be able to have enough people vote for him with this type of cultural diversity. But what they started doing is they started targeting certain minorities and pushing them against each other, which is kind of an old form of warfare. You get the locals to kill one another, and then you can control them. You get the Kozu to kill the Zulu. You get the Zulu to kill, you try to get this fighting going on as a means of you don't want people to get organized. And so I think that that's also a lot of what was going on. But yeah, it does look like part of the investigation is to see how government resources were being used. The other scary thing is we have to ask ourselves, where was Christopher Wray? Why did the FBI hand all that information about Kavanaugh over to the FBI? Why did it hand it over to the Trump White House? That kind of lack of oversight or assumption that the President of the United States should have that kind of control over how laws are implemented, that's pretty scary. So what can we do to make sure that that never happens again? Yeah. United we stand, the United States of America. My internet connection, I've got full bars. I just don't have a lot of light. The energy is starting to get consolidated. I'll tell you how it feels to me as a remote viewer. And if you're a remote viewer trained in HCRV, Terry, there's about 250 people that they're not getting certified, but who have gone through the classes. And they do the homework, they just don't need to be certified. So we have about 250 people training in HCRV. So if you want to pop in with your own feedback, we're all equals here. HCRV is innate to our humanity. Nobody's any better than anybody else. But I think the feeling everybody gets is that in the beginning of the investigation, when we were doing HCRV, I felt scattered. I felt that my energy was being carried to one investigation and another. I felt that when Mueller began his investigation, he kept finding things and then it would become another case, and then a group of investigators would follow that, and it became multiple investigations. And I don't think that people realize how far Mueller got into the investigation or how much stuff got suppressed. So now we're at a point where when I meditate and I put myself into the energy of the investigation, it feels more consolidated. It doesn't feel, I'm not carried off like I was in the beginning of the Mueller investigation. Now I feel, when I meditate on the Mueller investigation and what's happening with the Trump organization, it feels very solid, like stuff I can hold in my hand. It feels very condensed. So much so that I feel that over the next 3 to 4 weeks, we are probably going to be seeing more indictments. I do, because the inaugural committee, and they had taken money from foreign governments, funneled it into the inaugural committee, and then passed it on to the Trump organization and used Ivanka Trump's signature to do it, that it was important to get her to flip. And people were paying Donald Trump basically to have their personal needs met. So our policies regarding the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, they bribed their way. They bribed the president, basically. He was bribed. He was given they gave him cash incentives, and then they hid it. They hid the cash incentives. So all of that is probably going to be coming out in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Juice. Oh, welcome to the Empath's Journey, Penny. Welcome to HCRV. Thank you, by the way, everybody who's become a member. I don't always get to show gratitude as often as I like. So thank you, everyone who's learning HCRV. I think it's an important thing to remember, right? To remember our gut, to remember that part of ourselves. I think we should maybe do the Empath's prayer. J. Cat Lady, is that how much money is missing from the Treasury? Yes, there's money missing, there's money on hold, there's money that was hidden by the Treasury so that Nancy Pelosi couldn't, just, give it to where it needed to be, gotten to because the conservatives didn't like where the money was gonna go, so they decided to hide it. Really bizarre stuff going on. So, let's do the empath's prayer. Would everyone like to have a personal reading? Alright, let's do it. Yeah, the inaugural funds. It's not just that the money is missing, there's more going on than just missing money. It's about the fact that they were pay-to-play schemes. All right, let's do it. Are we ready? Ready to get a nice weekly reading? Okay. Okay, I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys, to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those we may have strife with. And together, collectively, as a community, we say, Amen. All right, let's see what we need to know for the week. What do we need to know about this week? Okay, where we are at right now as a community. Now is the time to think about what you want to let go of and what you want to hold on to. There are things that are worth fighting for, and there are other things in life that are not worth fighting for. We only have a limited amount of energy, and the older we get, and hopefully the wiser we get, we start to realize that we only have so many hours in the day. How do you choose to spend those hours? How do you choose to spend that time? There are things worth fighting for, and there are other things that are just a waste of time. So consider prioritizing how you spend your time. That is basically the message from Spirit. For example, if you're spending a lot of time thinking about things that are upsetting to you or not advancing your life in any way, it might be helpful to be more aware of that. How am I using my time? Because you only have a limited amount of energy. If you only had 24 hours in the day, what's the best way to use that 24 hours? You can see our karma card is the 5 of Swords, which is to walk away from battles you cannot win. The other thing we have to realize is the importance of conserving our energy. Conserve your energy and direct what limited energy we all have towards the things that actually matter in this world. Slow, steady progress, being grounded in reality, creating a strong foundation for yourself, a strong legacy for yourself that will not be blown away should things become difficult in the future. The heavy winds will not carry you away. The interesting thing about the Knight of Pentacles is, first off, he is a knight that stands still and he calmly surveys the situation. He holds a pentacle, which can be wealth or a financial card. He is riding a Clydesdale. It's a very heavy card. It's an earth card. He's grounded. His finances are grounded. He's not going anywhere before he doesn't survey the situation. In plainer words, it shows a change in energy that you may be experiencing where you are now starting to focus on what you want to do with the remainder of your life that's going to be constructive and in some ways going to contribute to the greater good, whether it's, how you can make the planet a better place. So because we have limited time, and there's only so many people we can fight and argue with, we have to we have to pick our battles. What's worth fighting for? A lot of us are entering into a time in our life of tremendous service. I think for many of us, we've come to realize that the Garden of Eden and heaven on earth is a choice. We can go outside of ourselves and look for someone to give us heaven on earth, or we can think about what makes us happy and we can create it for ourselves. But what's nice is that we're entering into the time of the Six of Pentacles, which is a time of justice and balance, restitution if you've been wronged. One of the things I like about Six of Pentacles is that the person who's suffering, who's got the blanket there, we can see that the benefactor has balanced the scales and is now returning back to the person who has been struggling what belongs to them. And so justice has been restored. This goes back to an interesting conversation that I was having today, actually, with Sigrid about the archetype of the Queen of Wands. That the Queen of Wands is an archetype that is strong female energy, usually. She carries a wand, which has to do with establishing territory or space or appropriate boundaries, strong leadership. The energy here is of service, of justice, of balance, pursuing justice, pursuing balance, which is far more important than revenge. Sometimes walking away is fine. Sometimes we have to fight. Walking away from battles, arguments, etc., that are not going to accomplish anything is helpful. But there are some battles worth fighting for. If something has been wrong in your life, if somebody has wronged you, it's not revenge to try and balance things out and say, okay, you owe me money because you burned my house down, or whatever the issue is. So Six of Pentacles is not a revenge card. It's not about going after somebody or confronting a situation because you're out to get them. It's about true justice, which is balancing a wrong. If you can't let something go because you feel that something has happened in your life and you have been wronged, that's actually the aspect we think about as the Queen of Wands, the person who seeks justice absolute. And that's been an energy that's been coming up a lot for people, particularly, I think, in this community. This desperate need to seek justice is one of the reasons why this community has been upset about the administration prior to this one, feeling that there were so many problems, ethical and moral problems that we had with the previous administration, that perhaps we felt that we couldn't let it go. We had to have justice. We had to have justice. What's good to note, though, is that this is the time we're entering into where we will start to see justice. Finally, we will start to see justice. I can't help but feel on a greater level, if we're looking at it just from the political perspective, I can't help but feel that I don't know how Christopher Wray still has a job, to be quite honest with you, with this type of energy, because it seems to me like the FBI should have taken care of the issue of Kavanaugh. If there are 4,500 people filing reports about Kavanaugh being inappropriate, why is he on the Supreme Court? How could that have happened under Christopher Wray? So those are just some of the things that people are taking a look at, some of the imbalances that have to be balanced. What is above us? Judgment. So a judgment is coming that attempts to rectify something that was imbalanced. What sits below us? A new beginning. It's interesting. We also have here the Four of Wands was the crossing card, the second card, which is the energy that is meeting us. It's a new beginning. It's a new foundation. What's interesting also is that it feels to me like this is a new period I don't know what's going on astrologically. If any of you, I'm going to change my feet, sitting on my foot. Any of you are astrologers, if you could answer this question, but I would be curious what's going on. It's a lot about, don't you love when I do that? This is the fifth house. So it's already happened. So there's a feeling that the justice you seek is already happening. Seek justice, justice you must pursue. And for every action, there's a reaction of equal or greater force. So in the past, we had justice, and a judgment comes to heal something, the grieving that has happened. Here's the thing about justice. Here's the thing that we have to realize with these types of cards. If something bad has happened to you, thank you, Ruth Davis. Thank you for that donation. Even if everybody does everything right and you get restitution and you win that lawsuit or whatever, or that person that needs to apologize apologizes, even if everything that's done right is done right, everything that needs to be done right is done right, you will still have the memories, perhaps, the grief of what you have lost. There is this idea that the problem with when you do something you shouldn't be doing to someone, if you steal or you rob or you take away from someone, even if they get their money back, even if some type of justice is returned, you've still taken their time. You've created the stress of them having to fight. So I'm not surprised that we're entering into the time of Five of Cups, because Five of Cups is about, even if justice is restored, we've still lost a lot. We lost as a nation just here in the United States 5 years. So, and we're still losing time that needed to go towards things that really mattered, like the infrastructure, dealing with all the problems that the country has in terms of poverty, the breakdown of infrastructure, education, etc. Where we're at right now, watch your daily habits. This has been coming up a lot for the community. Codependent relationships, addictive relationships, challenges with drugs and alcohol, sugar. So, yeah, sugar is, it's interesting. I get this a lot when I've been reading for a lot of you. You come in for private readings, and 9 times out of 10, it's food. So be aware, we're still challenged a little bit with our personal addictions. Oh, we're entering into a time of high knowledge. So I think that throughout the world, there's going to be this new love affair with information, knowledge, education, scholarship. We're going to see a ton of money being poured into education in the coming years, new technologies, etc. Thank you, Julie Tirado. Welcome to Fairies and Angels. The hope and the fear for us that we will lose our own essence is kind of an interesting way of looking at it. The Six of Cups is the fear card. Old loves returning, going back to that innocent place of youth, worrying that we're going to lose the things that brought us joy in our youth, innocence, imagination, true love. This is an illusion, I think, because if that is your fundamental nature, to be a loving person, to seek love and want love in your life, if this is your fundamental nature, you can't lose it. It doesn't matter if you're 20 or 100, because the Six of Cups, that innocent desire to love and be loved, is integral to your humanity. And so it's not something you have to be afraid of losing. And then the final outcome for us, we heal our lives. The Page of Cups is a great card. It's the card that has to do with healing or the elixir or the desire to bring healing into our lives. I really think for many of us, we're going to be really focusing on our health in the coming months. And you can see here the final outcome for the coming months, strength. It's so interesting because I'm really getting interested in meditation and the Ayurvedic diet. Seagram and I went to Keflavik, I think it's called. We went for a drive today in Keflavik, and we went to a restaurant, and I thought, who knows what kind of food we'll find. We found delicious Indian food. It was great, vegetarian. And I felt so good after I ate that food. It was so clean and fresh. It was vegetables. It was not a hot curry. And it was just very gentle on the stomach with a really nice salad. And also just the idea of clearing your energy a little bit, maybe eating clean. Am I Pitta? I'm Vata mostly, but I do have some Pitta. I do have some Pitta in me. If you're talking about Ayurvedic medicine, it's body types. But I think that the coming months is about healing our lives, taking good care of ourselves, and restoring justice where justice has been lost. Pick your battles. That's the message from Spirit. Conserve your energy for the things that matter in life. Some battles are worth fighting, some are not. Learn discernment also. So that is today's collective reading. And I hope that gave you some information that'll be of help to you. If you're an astrologer and you know anything about why the focus is justice, righting and wrongs, etc., be curious to hear what you have to say. All right, so Dale White wants to know, as soon as I get the call, I will start blitzing. As I've let people know, in case you just joined us, we are playing, we're hanging out, we're doing some blitzes, we're raising money for Oxfam, which is a nonprofit, it's a charity that helps pull people out of extreme poverty. They've done some really good stuff, including helping with Syrian refugees, but also here in the United States, they've been very active working with certain communities here in the US on reservation, etc. Areas, particularly remote areas in the United States where people may not have all the best resources. And I found this charity through Pete Singer and Paul Simon. All right, looks like people are requesting that I blitz away. So we are going to go ahead and do some blitzes, starting with Dale White's question. Were Trump conspirators using the FBI app, and did they collect? These are going to be 4-card blitzes, so you'll be able to see the cards. Let's take a look. Oh, you don't like it where it is now? You can't see very well? I'm sitting next to the... I'm trying. Yeah, I don't think I can open up the window anymore. Yeah, in answer to your question, Dale, it looks like there were people within the Justice Department and the FBI that seemed to be on the wrong side of history. The reason why I say that is because we have the FBI card here. The King of Pentacles is always the card I associate with the FBI, and that's because it's a card that is associated with being hidden, what is hidden. Thank you, Ruth. That's very kind of you. Appreciate the donation to Oxfam. So we have the FBI here. We have some kind of an FBI activity going on, an investigation. We have an Ace of Wands, which would be entrepreneurship, or somebody gets creative, right? Somebody starts a new project within the FBI. Here's where it starts to get a little creepy, Dale. You get the lover's card. And that can be a clandestine lover or cheating. It has a negative aspect where the person's off involved with somebody they shouldn't be involved with. And then the final outcome is the chariot, which can be quickening. So it appears that the FBI has been compromised. There are people in the FBI who have been compromised, and there are people in the FBI based on these cards who are probably double agents. And that's the problem. So I just want to go ahead and clarify those cards. Can everybody see that though? We have FBI, a new venture involving some kind of an infidelity, and then something's about to happen very quick regarding this. What's also interesting is that two of the four are major arcana cards. I feel with this quick energy, this quick, like a lot of stuff's going to be going down. Am I the only one shocked that Christopher Wray is still in the job? Does that seem weird? The FBI card, Ten of Swords. Agents betraying agents, people reporting one another, backstabbing, people collecting dirt on each other. Regarding the new ventures they participated in, same as Robert Mueller, the activities happening over the water, watching the boats. You know, it's interesting that we had the assassination of, a couple things are going on that I wanted to talk to people about. And I drew a picture and then I left the map back in the United States. But a lot of the UFO sightings that are happening right now are happening on the East Coast around Georgia, Florida. And it's interesting because that's close to the triangular trade. The triangular trade's always been there. Human trafficking. Instead of human trafficking and alcohol, now it's human trafficking, drugs, and guns. Also, we know that the Haitian president has been assassinated, and it was done by people who, in the United States, American informants who had worked with the FBI. And also the Colombian government and military who had received training and were actively participating with the CIA. So the concern by the American intelligence agencies is that somehow some of these UFOs, not all of them, but some of them could in fact be drones that are either Russian drones or Chinese drones. Now, here's what's interesting. When I did a remote view of the Tic Tac drone, it had a type of technology that was kind of interesting. I found that it was two tubes. You had the outer tube of the Tic Tac UFO, and then you had another tube inside. And it looked like a rotation was happening like this on the inside, and it was capturing air. There were like propellers inside moving in a circle, and that those inner propellers circling were propelling the Tic Tac forward, but it wasn't visible from the outside. It was capturing, air was going into the Tic Tac, swirling and pushing the Tic Tac in various different directions. Now, that technology could come from China, it could come from the United States, it could come from an alien, we don't know. But if you watch any of the film footage on the UFOs, there was a UFO Tic Tac that was chased out of Georgia, the coast of Georgia, I think a week and a half ago. What's interesting is that stuff is intensifying right around the time that the FBI is involved with these assassinations of people like the former president of Haiti, who may have been compromised by the Russians. Then you have Cuba, which is also friendly to Russia and China. So that whole area of the Caribbean, it's as if it never stopped being a triangular trade. It's as if it never stopped being part of that corruption, and it remains part of that corruption. And it goes back to Robert Mueller watching the boats, the trade, human trafficking, drug smuggling, guns. And then here again, we have a new beginning. What's also here would suggest that we may, I've got an unstable connection. We may also have a new beginning in terms of people cooperating with the FBI and cooperating with the investigation, because we have the lovers or the person who may have been compromised, and then a new beginning. So it's also possibly speaking to the fact that more and more people are trying to make deals with the FBI. And then the final outcome about this investigation happening very quickly is fool takes a leap of faith. So people cooperating. So I think in answer to your question, Dale, yes, I think that that's exactly what they did. I think that we had double agents. I think that we had people that were both inside the FBI and inside the government that were compromised. I think that this was a very intense investigation. And I think that the assassination in Haiti and some of this crazy drone stuff we're seeing, potential drones, or we don't know what they are. I think some of them are foreign drones, and I think they are entering into US space. And I think that it's all connected. And we're just going to have to wait and see how it's all connected. But it's very scary because as a remote viewer, when I was meditating on that area, we're talking about the United States, particularly the southeast coast of the United States, going all the way into the Bahamas, Colombia, Panama, Barbados, all the island areas that also used to have quite a bit of slavery from the slave trade. All those areas are still corrupted, because they're very strategic for people that are involved in these types of illegal trade. And so it's almost as if we're at war right now and the American government is keeping it secret. That's the best way to describe it. It's like there's a war going on. And I just don't think the US is telling people everything that's happening. So a good question from Stephanie. I think that is exactly what he was up to, Stephanie. I think that he was, I might have to go back over there just because I have nowhere to sit. I think that that's exactly what Epstein was doing. He was one of the traffickers. I mean, he was supplying slaves to people in positions of power, and that whole area is corrupt, and so that they could get information about drugs coming in, people coming in, etc. And he was one of the people that got on the boats, and so he was considered a VIP person. And he and Ghislaine Maxwell thought that they were safe because they were supplying information to both the United States and foreign governments. Yeah, so Tom Barrack's being arrested. $250 million bail was about the inaugural fund, but he made billions by pay-to-play schemes. They were paying him. He became wealthy by helping people make contact with Trump, and then Trump was getting money as well. But there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the southeastern United States. And it would also explain why, if the Republicans, if the IRS, or not the IRS, excuse me, the NRA, excuse me, if the NRA was compromised, if the Southeast is compromised, if you're trying to bring in drugs and human trafficking, etc., you're going to have a vested interest in making sure that local politicians in Florida have been compromised, that the police have been compromised, that the judges have been compromised, that everybody's been paid off. And it doesn't surprise me that it's had a profound impact on the politics of the southeastern United States based on those cards and based on some of the weird stuff we're seeing happening, like in Haiti. I don't think that this is the end, though. I would not be surprised if we're taking out people, if we're helping overthrow people like the president of Haiti, I would not be surprised if we stopped there. You know, we will probably see some political upset in Brazil, definitely in Venezuela, anywhere where we're concerned about foreign influence. We're probably going to start seeing some very strange things. All right, we're going to move on to another question here. Yeah, it freaks me out when I scan that. Give it a try, those of you who are HCRV people. Give it a try. Put yourself in the shoes of let yourself be carried by the energy and just scan the southeastern United States going into the islands, going into Panama, all that area, Haiti, some really strange energy, really, really strange energy. Yeah, I like Rosie. I really enjoy her stuff. I always get a good chuckle. I like her a lot. Rosie, psychic investigator. She's good. And she's always crying. It's very funny. Yeah, Shirley Kent. I mean, DeSantos, if they're making a ton of money off of this kind of behavior, it's like the jokes that Florida is a giant swamp. It's basically what it looks like, but it's not just Florida. It's drug cartels who own politicians and are based in these areas and are bringing in smuggling and are paying people off to turn a blind eye. And then you had the Air National Guard chasing after these Tic Tac UFOs last week, and we don't know what they are. But the technology is interesting because it uses a swirling and capturing the air. And that's why you can't see it. You can't see anything because it's two tubes. It's the outer tube, and then you have an inner tube. And the space between the two tubes is where the air is moving. And when it rotates like this, the air it captures forces the Tic Tac to go in different directions because it's two Tic Tacs. It's an inner Tic Tac and an outer Tic Tac. And the space in between is the air being captured by the rotator and pushing it. That was what I could figure out about the technology of the Tic Tac. But that's why you can't see anything, but it's moving. It's pretty surreal. All right, anybody else have another question for us? I think that that's a good point, Susan Lynn. It's about this idea of just how much information are the American people going to know right now that they didn't know before. And I think I would like to just do a throw on Biden from his perspective, how he feels about what's happening. How does Biden feel about the investigation? And if he knows anything, if we can get any information from Joe Biden, Joe, baby, about what's happening. These are strange times. I think we should throw in Christopher Wray. I got to figure out why that guy is still in office. All right, let's do Joe Biden first. Huh. He's disgusted. I think that there's a side of Joe Biden that is a little bit naive, that he really didn't, the extent to which people were slowly compromised financially is something that I don't think Biden expected so many people to have been compromised. I think that that's the shock, because you have a Hierophant moving in. So it's about ethics, it's about the Constitution, but it's also a feeling, you go into this, of just being shocked. Like, he expected more. Yeah, honestly, we're going to start seeing prosecutions from the Justice Department now. That's the answer. Yeah, Julie, I'll do Ray next, because it just doesn't make any sense to me. How in God's name you would allow somebody like that? Sans Levine, no. Barack Obama has said that it needs to not to be in the middle of that, because that's not the function of a former president. A former president should not be involved in politics like that. They can do charity work, they can give their opinion, they can be an activist, but they can't start going into the government and making policies or anything like that. You can see here, Joe Biden, the ethos, the Constitution, there's a new beginning in DC. Slow, steady wins the race. And this is also a foundation card. So you get the impression that Biden is building something that will last. One thing I will say about Biden, he doesn't like executive order because it doesn't stick. He wants something that's going to be permanent policies in the United States. You can see the Queen of Swords, which is the card of justice. She's Neil. Okay, there's some troll. Anyway, so the clarification for Biden, yeah, the Constitution wins. You can see the Ace of Swords coming in. Interesting. There's the FBI coming in. I really feel like we're going to start seeing a lot of what's happening. Yeah, the digging, the investigation. This is all about slow. Also, I really think we're going to start seeing the new economy. We don't have enough workers, though. I don't know what they're going to do about our workers shortage. And then the final outcome is Six of Cups, which is a good sign. There's a feeling that we have to go back to the basics. We have to go back to the basics. It's the best way to describe it. We can't. I think we got lost. I think it's a feeling like we got lost, and the cards that are coming have to do with returning to the Constitution, Hierophant, which is the ethos of the nation, Six of Cups, to return to the love, the original love, or the soulmate, the Constitution, the values. Knight of Pentacles is slow and steady, wins the race, strong foundation. Interesting. Okay, I gotta move. So I apologize if it's going to be even darker, but we're moving. I've got to sit. Guys can see my messy hotel room. Much better. All right, is it totally dark? I apologize. I gotta sit. Oh, as long as people can hear me. Yeah, I mean, Nancy, I think that's a good point about not hiring older workers. What I'm telling a lot of people to do is just start in they won't even get an interview. So the best thing to do is to just start maybe with temp agencies, because I think once people know you and they feel comfortable with your work, then you're more likely to get hired. So I think the fastest way to get permanent work is to just go through the temp agencies or start your own business. The other great thing about temp agencies is you can work right away. They cut a check the same day, and you can try different things until you find the thing that's right for you. It was whimsy aerobics, absolutely. The monetary system is a little bit spooky. Yeah. How that's going to be changing. Okay, let's move on to another question. Kyle Rittenhouse be found guilty? Good question. A kid with now that's a kid that's a classic kid suffering from a personality well, that's like what we would call antisocial personality, an antisocial disorder, a derelict basically. And the problem with Kyle Rittenhouse is that his psychopathy is being supported, right? He's got a group of people that are congratulating him on being horrible. All right, let's see what happens with Kyle Rittenhouse. I mean, that kid's gonna probably spend his life in prison. The future of Kyle Rittenhouse. Thank you, Anonymous, for the donation to Oxfam. Appreciate that. Yeah, Nancy, but you also wonder where his father is. It's a new beginning for him. The police want him prosecuted. The authorities want him prosecuted. There's some confusion with the people in charge. There's some confusion. There are documents missing, and there's a lack of cooperation, and there are people attempting to sabotage the investigation on Kyle Rittenhouse. So you can see it here, a new beginning in the investigation, a desire for prosecution, the police, somebody coming in, juggling and messing things up, chaos, trickster, and then the power card. So there are people in positions of power that are trying to obstruct this and some kind of criminal proceedings or police action. No, he's not going to get away with it. It's almost like the government or the justice or Lady Justice comes in, and the nonsense, they're not going to be able to get away with the nonsense, because you can see, by the way, he could also be the Page of Wands because it's a child's card. You have Lady Justice coming in, the Queen of Swords, and then what's interesting, the investigation, this can be police or aggressive action, hanging up the trickster, and then karma. So I would think with cards like that, that Kyle Rittenhouse is in big trouble. It's karma. What goes around comes around. And unfortunately, he's a child, a mentally ill kid. his life is over, and unfortunately the adults helped him destroy his life. They gave him the gun. They encouraged it. Good idea, Melinda. Take care, shield maidens, witches tarot. Good seeing ya. It is very sad, Terry, because if he had had a father in the home that could have given him better guidance, none of this, perhaps he could have, it wouldn't have gotten, you know. I think his life is over. And unfortunately, if he goes to prison, he's going to probably connect with white supremacist gangs. It's very sad. Free will, but when you don't have a developed brain and you don't have a father present and your brain is still growing, he doesn't have a fully developed prefrontal cortex. That's why you have juvenile courts, because the brains of children are not developed. And the brains of children with antisocial personality disorder, if it's derelicts, if there's a socioeconomic reason that the child fell through the cracks, it's about finding at-risk youth and intervening before it gets to that point. And unfortunately, that's not what happened. Instead, he was surrounded by people that, right, Arlene, he was surrounded by people that promoted the crazy. And that's what happened. Right, Kathleen Stanford. Prison will cause him to become more damaged. All right, let's move on. Anybody else have a question? Or do you just want to hang? Well, Tom, that's a really good question about Tom Barrack. I also would be curious to know if he already flipped Tom Barrack. Let's take a look. Isn't this fun? Future of Tom Barrack, and is he going to show up? I think so. Yeah, but children don't have impulse control like adults because the part of the brain isn't developed yet. If our brains, the modern Homo sapiens sapien brain, it takes a good 21 years for the more advanced portions of the brain, like the prefrontal cortex, to develop. That's why children have no impulse control. They see a marshmallow and they eat it. That is a part of the brain that you have to give it time to grow and develop and nurture. So that's what's sad about it. Okay, Tom Barrack was probably giving opportunity to cooperate. You can see the Knight of Cups coming in and a Two of Cups. So there's some kind of a deal here. Also, Three of Wands, again, over the ocean, could involve foreign dealings, and then the Ace of Swords within 1 year. I think whatever is going down with him will be finished up in about a year, and I think that he's cooperating with investigators. Yeah. You see the police, the military, the police presence. And then regarding his deal or his cooperation, yeah, They're going to get a ton of information from Tom Barrack. Look at that treasure trove. Not only will he cooperate, but they're going to get a lot of information from him. Yeah, here it is, cooperating. The final outcome for him. He will take the leap of faith. He will trust the feds. He will get a lesser sentence, and he will hand over a ton of information. See what the FBI, what the intelligence agencies want is information, and they feel that the information is, he'll get a year. He'll get a reduced sentence. That's what it looks like in exchange for cooperating. Let's see. We have a question about Harry and Meghan. I think what they're aggressive about is the Tories and the fact that the Tories have a long and gruesome history of white supremacy and eugenics, and they were emboldened under Trump, and their cruelty nearly drove Harry's wife to suicide because they're insane. These are people that wanted Hitler to win the war. There were members of the royal family that were rooting for Hitler in World War II. And eugenics, the belief that some people are genetically, well, they didn't have genetics, but some people were superior because of their birth. Those ideas came from, that was the pseudoscience of eugenics was developed by the British aristocracy. Sir Francis Galton, the aristocrats, the wealthy, like Sir Francis Galton, they were the people that they didn't want to, they were trying to make sure that socialism didn't take a hold in Britain because they didn't want to pay taxes. They didn't want to lose Downton Abbey. And so they clung to this pseudoscience of eugenics because they really felt threatened by the socialist movement. So all of that is the history that the Tories have to contend with, that they were complicit, that they have a long history of being racist, and that gave birth to racist policies in Britain. And she, rightly so, seeks justice absolute for the good of Britain, as does Harry. They murdered his mother, then they try to murder his wife, and they're talking about how she's got issues. She doesn't have issues. If you're a racist and a bigot and you're terrorizing people and you're making life hell for somebody because you're a racist and a bigot, it's not the victim's problem that they need to act a certain way to satisfy you. Well, this is something that happens a lot in courts. If a woman is raped or a victim of child sexual abuse, there have been cases where the perpetrator has gotten off, even if they've had film footage and evidence, because the victim didn't behave the way they wanted the victim to behave. She's not crying enough. She's not petulant enough. We want to see her behave a certain way. And that's really kind of missing the point. That's victim bashing. Meghan Markle isn't the one with the issue. The British have a problem. It's called eugenics. And they need to deal with their problem. Just like the United States has a problem. We have a racism problem too. So rather than attacking the victim, well, we think that you should behave. No, we have a problem. We need to deal with our problem. So I'm really getting tired of everybody expecting Meghan to be some dancing doll, that some plaything that's supposed to placate and entertain and all this other crap. They're not happy with how she handled her breakdown when they nearly drove her to kill herself. That's sick, you know. She's not here for your entertainment. You don't get to drive someone to suicide because you're a racist pig and then blame the victim. You know, and good that they're. You know what? I'm glad they're being aggressive. They should be shamed into changing. And I'm not ready to forgive William. I'm not, because I did the remote. You know, if you're sitting in a pub with your friends and they're getting drunk with you and they're joking about the color of your new nephew, you need to nip it in the bud. You need to nip it in the bud. You need to call it out. Keeping the fact that William kept his mouth shut is not acceptable. And if I were Meghan, I wouldn't forgive him either. Until you fix this, we don't have a relationship. If you can't guarantee my safety, if you're continuing to justify this, if you keeping your mouth shut, well, it's politics, and you know Trump was in the White House, and I, William, didn't feel like I could get involved because you know the British, we're not supposed to be we're not supposed to be political. So you just kept your mouth shut. You kept your mouth shut in the pub. While they're doing this, you were in a position, this is what Harry said, you are now in a position of power where you can actually do something, and you kept your mouth shut. That's why my wife doesn't want to have a relationship with you. She didn't screw up, you screwed up. This is not politics, this is racism, and you should have said something. So that's the dynamic. But let's go in. I agree with Meghan. No, I wouldn't want. Look, I think it's great that you're fired the people. Look, William's done a lot right now. He's called on an investigation, human resources. They want all those racists gone. There's a lot of people in trouble, but it's too little too late. It was like William got shamed into doing this, but it's like, where were you 2 years ago? Zero tolerance. This is racism. Zero. Zero is zero. Not she could have, she should. Well, when the victim was being stabbed, we wanted to hear you scream a little loud. You know, like, you're not giving us what we want as a victim. Screw you. No wonder she left. All right. It's like when, what was it, King George, who abdicated and married Wallace Simpson? They went off and hung out with Hitler. So, very bizarre family. All right. Ace of Cups, they really, this is from William's perspective. They really want to fix this. This feels to me, when you go into the royal family, like a lot of different things. For starters, you feel, when you put yourself in the shoes of Queen Elizabeth, horrified, because I have friends, other royals from India, from this part of the world. We're friends. I grew up with friends from all over the world. This is not who I am. That's how I feel when I put myself into the shoes of Elizabeth. I'm embarrassed. And what does this say about Britain? Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. And how we must look to the Americans and how we must look to the rest of it. It's an embarrassment to me. So you have this energy coming in, which is like an Ace of Cups, which is, we have to make this right. We have to fix this. This is William coming in, this desire to, one of the things I do like about William is he keeps things close to his chest. He comes as the King of Pentacles. So he doesn't talk, he does. William doesn't publicly come out and say anything. I'll take care of it. He's going to take care of it. Give him time, but we're not going to be talking about this publicly. He comes as the King of Pentacles every time. And I feel from Meghan's perspective, that's not good enough. You need to be public. It's unstable connection, sorry. You need to be public, and you need to justice, you have to come public about this. And then we have the Queen of Swords moving in, and the Queen of Swords carries the sword of justice. I don't know if there can be a reconciliation between William and Meghan. Maybe Meghan and Kate, because Kate has a very deep spiritual connection with Harry. They're both on the same page. If you go back to the remote, and now Kate has opened the royal organization focusing on that. So obviously we have this really wonderful bond between Kate and Harry. However, there's a Five of Pentacles here as the outcome, and that does not bode well for the relationship between William and Meghan. And rightly so. I wouldn't have a relationship with him until he goes public. You need to own what you did. You need to own what this family participated in. You need to own your history, and you need to clean this up. And yes, a public apology would be great, because I'm not going back to Britain. I'm not going to go to Britain like I did something wrong simply because, she's Black. She shouldn't have to walk around apologetically and behave as screw you. She's out. That's why they're being aggressive. Clarification. This was a deep spiritual lesson for William. This was a very, very deep spiritual lesson for William. You can see the Hierophant moving in. This experience changed him. You can't just sit on the couch. You can't just sit at the bleachers and say, well, I can't get involved. No, he participated by not getting involved. That's the argument. He's being overridden. The women are coming in, the women are taking charge, and I feel like Kate's going to emerge as the hero here. And I think that William is going to have to it's very humbling for him. Look at that strong female energy. Yeah, I don't think people realize how horrifying this was, how psychologically traumatic this was for Meghan. This was bad. They tortured her. They tortured her mentally, psychologically. They wanted her to commit suicide. They were trying to make her life hell. It was full-blown racism. We're going to do everything we can to make your life hell. We want you gone. We want you dead. That's the energy. Miss Meghan. For her safety, until this is cleaned up, she can't go back. I wouldn't go back. She went back to the States. I don't see it. I don't see this. I'm sorry to say, they've got a lot of work to do on themselves before she'll go back to Britain. It's basically what I see. Sorry, you guys, but it's a profoundly racist. Even if the royals themselves are not racist or don't want to believe that they're racist, the institution, the human resources, and all the people that are enamored with the royals, that want to work for the royals because they're completely obsessed, those people are racist. And I've talked to them, by the way. I used to live in England, and I used to talk to people who were working in Parliament and stuff like that. I did a little bit of babysitting, and one of the people that I babysat for was a Tory member of Parliament, and they kept saying to me that they believe in the blood, that they believe in eugenics, that they believe that she will never be one of them, right? So that was what she went into. And so she's not safe there. That's the bottom line. It's not like, oh, get over it, Meghan. No, they're dangerous. Their way of thinking is dangerous. and she's not safe until this is cleaned up, which means that William, who evidently is responsible for firing a lot of these people, he's got a lot of work to do. And the good news is that with those types of cards, spiritually for him, this is good for William, because it's forcing him to do what he should have done originally, and it's changing him in positive ways. He got lost. You know, you can forget the lessons of your mother. And, you know, what's cool is that in a way, Meghan is bringing him back to those values, because it's very sick. The good news is that William now knows it, but he's still got a lot of work to do. He's got a lot of cleaning up to do. A lot of people have to go. A lot of people have to leave. All right, so my apologies for the crazy setup and the crazy lighting. I think I'm going to, did Harry understand? Yes, because, well, we did the remote, and then Harry came out and talked about it and said to him, you're now in a position, well, to do something. Well, we can't get involved, it's politics. I don't really understand what you're saying, spectator. I support Meghan and Harry. I think that what they're doing is really important. I think that this has been a problem in Britain since the Victorian times, which is when this type of racism really started. It's new, by the way. People had talked about, what's that show on Netflix? Brig, what's it called? Yes, that's true. It's kind of a new form of racism that emerges with the pseudoscience of eugenics in the Victorian era. So it was, they developed a new kind of racism with a fake science that gave birth to a new type of racism, and now they have to go and clean it out and deal with it, and that's what they're trying to do. But it's still Bridgerton, right? This is it didn't exist during the time of Bridgerton. It existed later on with the pseudoscience of Sir Francis Galton, right? So they never really cleaned it up. They never dealt with it. So now it's still there festering. And so that's really ultimately the problem, not Meghan. And if Meghan is replaced and somebody else comes in, another African-American woman, the same thing will happen again, because the underlying cause is the eugenics, the pseudoscience of eugenics, which, yes, I did my dissertation on eugenics. I always want to know about that. So anyway, I think that's what I think. Oh, I'm so glad you guys like the videos from Iceland. Did I have a problem being Jewish in Britain? Yeah, there's definitely anti-Semitism in Britain. You can't be a member of the royal family if you're Jewish. You have to convert to Church of England. So you would never be able to be a member. For example, the Rothschilds have been demonized because they're Jewish. I mean, they can get certain awards and knighted, but they're never going to be, because they're not part of the Church of England. They will always be outsiders. All right, love and light, everybody. I'll be back in the States, I think, seeing patients and doing readings around Thursday, Friday, I think it is. If you're trying to get in for readings. I'm sorry it was so weird today. All right. I think Harry and Meghan are going to do great. I do feel a little heartbroken as her, because I feel like, look, Harry's between a rock and a hard place. He loves his brother, but what do you do in a situation like that? You know? I mean, she literally felt like a hostage. She was a tortured hostage. Think about that. A tortured hostage, pregnant. And they did nothing to protect her. I wouldn't be quick with my personality. I wouldn't forgive, and I certainly wouldn't go back there. Not until they clean this mess up. The one positive thing I'll leave you with is that William is cleaning up. So we'll see. All right. Have a great rest of the day, everyone. Thank you so much for being with me here in Iceland. I'll be sure and upload more videos for everybody in the next couple of days. Take care. Bye. Thanks for the donations also, by the way, for the Oxfam. It's really kind of you.